have a few more parents trickling in. I know life is very busy. Just talking to a couple of folks, and man, it feels like in the spring, it's sometime for our family, it felt like sometime around now, life clicks into a sprint, and it doesn't slow down until school ends. So I don't know if your family feels that with spring sports and training opportunities, and we had youth soccer, baseball, track club, birthday parties, you name it, this past weekend, and I think that's what life is going to be for the next few months. So I'm glad to be in the sprint with you guys, and I'm really grateful that you carved a few minutes out of your busy schedule to be here this evening. I'm confident, excited, and hopeful that this will be a beneficial conversation. We have a few really cool voices that we get to hear from. I'm just so grateful for some folks who really went out of their way and carved time out of their schedule to come be with you guys. We are also recording this, so if you have a spouse or a friend or someone who's not here, you want to pass along the information, we'll make sure to get that link out in an email later this week. Thank you, Kate, for your help videotaping. I want to introduce a few folks before we get started, and then we have three different presenters that will go through and just offer different perspectives, and I'm excited that we're going to be able to have distinct voices, one from a parental perspective, one from actual college coaches, and then from a guy who has 39 years of experience in the realm of high school athletics. So we'll really try to leave room at the end for questions. So see a few guys up here dutifully taking notes. I'm going to say that Davis, you're sitting in the front row with his laptop open taking notes as an O-lineman coach. I'm going to give you credit for that one. You taught him how to be attentive and meetings. That's up to Coach Figg right here. There is hope for the next generation with at least a few of them. So I'm going to open us a word of prayer, and then I'll do some introductions, and then we'll get rolling. So let's pray. Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here this evening, for this group of families, parents, and students, for Grand Rapids Christian High School, and the opportunity that we have to gain an education, to express our gifts athletically, for the great game of football, for amazing coaches, and just these amazing young men that are on our team. We're grateful that we get to be together, that we get to be a part of this program. I pray tonight that you would help us to have an open mind, to learn, that the information we gain would be positive and instructive, and God, ultimately that you would begin to lay a path for the young men in our midst who have desires to pursue their dreams and their goals, that you would provide direction, discernment, that you would help families in the conversations that they have, that you'd give these parents wisdom and decision-making to guide their student athletes, that they would grow in their relationship with their kids through this process, and God, ultimately that you would receive glory through how we express the gifts that you've given us. So bless our evening, be with us, and we thank you for this opportunity. In Jesus' name, amen. So I hope that even just our desire to set up a conversation like this expresses our eagerness to partner with you as parents and with you guys as players. For those of you who have a desire to play at the next level, we want to do what we can to help you. Certainly there's not a magic ticket that we can punch to make all your dreams come true. I want you to know that if there were, we would do it. We would love that. Sometimes as high school coaches, we get caught in this funny mix of everyone comes in wanting to go to Michigan. We know that everyone can't go to Michigan. But I just want you to know, we didn't get into high school coaching to tell kids that they could go to Michigan. That we don't get joy from that. It's kind of this tricky process to navigate for us too. What we do know is that a lot of guys in our program have a pretty high level of giftedness and athleticism, and there's a lot of good college football out there. And sometimes the process of going from where you are and kind of what you know and the connections that you have to where you end up and the journey that you end up walking can be a little bit of a tricky process. I think it's part art, part science. There's relationships and just, especially if this is your oldest child, the nuance that can come along, it's just kind of tricky to navigate. So we want to partner with you, and again, we brought three voices in, frankly, who are smarter than us and have better experience than we do to share. So I'll introduce them first, and we'll bring them up. So Darrhonda is going to go first. Darrhonda is a former GRC parent and also current GRC parent. Her son CJ graduated 2 years ago from our program. was an incredible two-way player for us. One of the more talented guys that's ever come through Grand Rapids Christian's football program. Is currently at Ferris State, who won himself a national championship last year. Pretty impressive experience that he was able to have there, and has a very bright future for their football program. So excited for you to hear from her perspective as a parent. Just what was it like going to camps in the summer and talking to coaches, and when did she know that CJ was pretty good, and that there's going to be a path that pretty high level and all those kind of things. Then over here we have Coach Ben Dixon and Coach Trent Figg from Calvin University. Really thankful that they took time out of their busy schedule. They're literally building a program from the ground up, and excited. The head football coach took some time out of his day to come be here. That speaks volumes about their character and their investment in West Michigan in trying to build a great program here. It's pretty cool. And then over here, the bald guy in the sweater is my friend Bill. Bill and I work together at a school called Valor Christian in Colorado. His job role at the school was college recruitment coordinator. So they literally paid him a full-time salary to only help high school students navigate the college recruitment process. So he did it for athletes of all sports, boys, girls, D1, D3, gymnastics, football, water play, everything in between, you name it. But I think signed upwards of 500 student athletes, I think 47% of which got D1 deals, and just he has names in his phone that you wouldn't believe, stories to tell, for sure. So excited to hear from these guys. So Darrhonda, if you want to come up and get us started, and then write down your questions, and let's give a round of applause. Thank you so much for being
here. Good evening, everyone. See a lot of familiar faces. Glad to see you all. Can you hear me without the mic?
Yes.
Okay. Again, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Darrhonda Scott-Jones. I've had 2 children now graduate from Christian. So I've also been through that recruiting process twice, different sports. My older son graduated 2014, went off to play basketball at Central Michigan, so that was a D1 experience there. And then CJ, which I think many of you probably know, just graduated 2022, who's currently at Ferris State, which is my alma mater. Back-to-back football champs. I'm having an awesome time down there, and so I've experienced 2 sides of recruiting, looking to do a 3rd side here in the middle with my daughter in track. But today we're talking about football, and I just wanted to say that for any athlete in any sport, it is a blessing and a privilege to be able to continue your education and play the sport that you love. And so I would not belittle any opportunity that might come your way. Take it all in, enjoy it. It is definitely an exciting time, and the process can be exciting. By no means am I an expert. I've just had to navigate these waters a few times. But I will say, having been in 2 sports, they are vastly different. Football, a little bit more different than the other. For me, as a parent going through that process, it was really exciting to see CJ's excitement to get letters in the mail, to get emails, to get coaches tweeting him and getting messages, and all those things. The biggest thing for him with the football recruitment was the camps. He did a lot of camps his junior year. That summer sometimes he was doing 3 camps within 1 week. Constantly on the road, trying to put his talents out there, communicating with coaches, very important, a lot, whether that was email, text messaging, phone calls, and as a parent, I always would encourage him to keep me in the loop, because I like to keep notes on, well, who are you reaching out to? Who's reaching out to you? How are those conversations going? Are you letting your coach know who's reaching out to you? Are they also reaching out to your coach? So those were some really important things that we had to navigate during that process as well. The other thing I would say coaches are always looking for, or one of their first questions was, how are your grades? Because coaches do want kids who are not only good on the field, but they want to also make sure that you're excelling in the classroom, because if you're not excelling in the classroom, you can't be on the field. And so that was another big thing for him. A lot of times that would be one of the first questions that they would ask was, how are you doing academically? He may have gotten coaches who called the school first to ask, how is he doing? How is his behavior? How are his grades? Before they ever even reached out to him. And so those are another big thing that was very important during that process. And I always encouraged him to keep his coach in the loop. If there were coaches reaching out to him, but not necessarily reaching out to his coaches, to make sure that if they themselves didn't reach out, for him to let the coaches know, hey, I heard from the coach over here in Michigan State today. When he went to camp, making sure, if you're attending camps, making sure that your coach knows what camps you're attending so that he can reach out and say, how did my guy do? What are some things he needs to work on? What are your thoughts on him? Oh, he's a really good kid. He's doing great academically. I think he'd be an asset to your program. Things like that. So all of that was really important in that recruiting process. And even beyond that, because all of this hopefully is something you're looking to do to get an education, when you're looking at those schools that are recruiting you, you also considering the academic component about it. Would this school be a good fit for me? Is this football program a good fit for me? Because different schools, I learned, different play styles and things of that nature. So you too have to do your homework when these schools are reaching out to you, or you are reaching out to those schools. And with football, because it's a little different than basketball, always, CJ had a huddle. So he was always, after every game, he was working on getting snapshots of some of those key plays and things he did and sharing that. Thank goodness for social media, because for football, that social media definitely comes in hand. And so for him, he was always sharing his huddle, whether it was Instagram, Twitter, only us seasoned folks use Facebook. But so he was always putting that out there, and a lot of times that's how he got different coaches to see him and then to reach out to him that way as well. So I would say the biggest part of that recruiting thing, start early. It doesn't have to start at your sophomore, junior, senior year. You can start as early as freshman year a lot of times. I know when he was a freshman, he started getting calls from, or the coach did, from lots of schools, even at that age. So it doesn't have to wait till your senior year. If you have opportunities to attend those camps, I encourage you to attend those camps. If there are specific schools that you're interested in, attend those camps. Make those connections with the coach. Reach out, let him know who you are. And if you're going to be at a camp, so if you're there, he's mindful to be looking out for you because you took the time out to reach out to him. Let's see what else. I don't know. Does anybody have any questions? It was a fun process. Again, I truly enjoyed it. Excited for where he's at today up at Ferris State.
How did you balance the stress of feeling like such a big decision, and you're sending your boy off to another campus and entrusting him to other people and leaders? I mean, there's the excitement of the process, but also I have to imagine as a parent, like the kind of the anxiety. How did you navigate both of those emotions as you went into the process?
Well, it was exciting. The bigger part for me was the visit. So right before he was wanting to make decisions, he had college coaches come and visit, and that was when we were really able to get a feel for the coach. How the coach presented himself, how he reacted to us, how he answered questions we had. I know there were some key questions that I had when I talked to different coaches just based on CJ, and if I wasn't hearing the right thing, for me it was like, this is not going to be a good fit for you. So it also boils down to parents really knowing your kids and talking to those coaches and getting that sense of, will this coach be a good coach for my son? And so we had, it was a hard decision because between Ferris and another school, I really liked both the programs, I really liked the coaches, and the one coach I actually liked him a little bit better just because of his background. But was even more excited to have CJ where he's at. But it just varies. Again, making those connections with coaches really was a key for us.
So one quick question is, in regards to the communication piece, as a parent, did coaches ever communicate with you, or was the communication solely between the student athlete and the coach, or the university, or the institution, and then your student athlete has to communicate with you? How did that process go for you?
Initially, they reached out to CJ. He started out getting some literature in the mail. Some of the coaches would call the school. And then when the process, when it was boiling down to, okay, it's almost decision time, that's when coaches started reaching out to me. But I did my best. I would always just tell CJ, when you're getting emails, text messages, forward that over to me, because I kept track of all, I wanted to keep track of all that, who was reaching out, you know, who was showing the most interest, who was doing this and doing that. But then once it got down to, okay, it's time to make a commitment, they started reaching out to me and having those conversations.
What went into like his thought process before he committed to a college?
For him, because of the other big piece for him was the field he wanted to go into, so he was looking to go into mechanical engineering. And so he checked out their programs, and because the coaches knew that that's what he wanted to major in, they were really trying to sell that program. And so it really boiled down between Ferris and Saginaw Valley, because Saginaw Valley had a racetrack, and he wanted to mess with cars. But Ferris was a little bit more hands-on, smaller campus, and so that was it for him, was because of his major, where he felt he would be more successful academically. And so that made a huge part. And of course, who doesn't want to play for the, at the time, D2 national champs, the one championship?
Any other questions?
Truly, like, how much did his academics play into what schools were interested in him? Like, was that like a pretty pivotal factor? Like, how did that relate to what schools were interested in?
I would probably say it's probably, in addition to his talents, the next biggest factor, because schools and specifically teams want students who can excel in the classroom. If you can't pass, you can't play. They also like to have, you know, there's this whole team GPA thing, and so they get awarded for, you know, and get lots of notoriety when their team as a whole is excelling academically. So they do look for those students who are doing well in the classroom. I won't say it's the only factor, because I've known some kids who may not have been as great academically, but were still awarded scholarships. But they really, if your GPA is good and you have that talent, they're more than likely going to be coming after you than it would another kid who may not have as high a GPA. So it plays a big role in what schools will look at you. And if you start out doing well and your grades drop, you may find that some of those same schools aren't looking at you anymore.
Cool. Thank you so much. We'll talk about next steps before you guys leave this evening, and just make sure that you understand. You know, we want to connect with you guys ultimately, and we'll prioritize connecting with juniors first, just from a recruiting timeline, and then connect with your family in a more individual setting. But I can remember meeting with Darrhonda and CJ in the boardrooms, sometime spring of CJ's senior year, and they had, do you remember the calendar laid out of all the camps that they were going to go to? Very proactive communication, meticulously planned, and I hope you heard the intentionality too in their process of keeping track of all the communications. Might surprise you to know that many teenage boys maybe wouldn't do that on their own. So a little bit of help and support can be really beneficial, but yeah, they did a really good job of being intentional with that whole process. And it was really helpful just for us, especially as a little bit newer to this job, to navigate that with you. So
Thanks, John, that was awesome. All right, next we have coaches from Calvin University. Again, guys, thanks so much for being here. I'm going to try to...
Can I explain from my phone?
I can.
Is that possible?
Would you rather do that?
I can, if it listens.
If it lets you, let's see if that works. I can get it this way, but if you'd rather do that, then it'd be the garage area.
Oh, there you go, you got it.
That's all.
Perfect. Yeah, we're good. How cool is that? Calvin football helmet, right? It's pretty sweet. Okay, so my name is Trent Figg. I'm the head football coach at Calvin University, and I am blessed to be able to stand up in front of you guys. And my job tonight, I have 3 minutes to give you an update of football at Calvin University. And then Coach Dixon, he's our offensive coordinator. He specifically recruits Grand Rapids Christian along with myself, and he's going to give you some more information. But outside of your presentation, I don't know if we need anything else tonight.
Hey, for real, you took like
Yeah.
95% of it.
Yeah, no, that was great. That was incredible. So here's what I'll tell you. Calvin football is really, really exciting right now. I'm so excited to stand up in front of you guys. And what I want to do is just give you a little frame of reference of exactly where we're at. So I came to Calvin from the University of Oregon on January 18th. And I've been really blessed in my career. I've coached at every level of college football. And the one thing that I've learned, one thing that I have learned is that football is football wherever you go. And the recruiting process is the recruiting process wherever you go, right? And so every coach that I've ever worked for, and now I'm the head coach, the first question we ask is, what's your GPA, right? What is your GPA? Why is that so important? Well, it's important because we want you to get a meaningful degree, right? It's important because we want to be able to teach you schemes and you can execute those schemes, right? And we want the very best, right? So whenever I went to college at William Jewell College, a Division II school in Kansas City, my head coach made a commitment to everybody in the locker room that I'm going to surround you with the best possible people I can surround you with. Why? Because when you graduate, this is your network of people, right? This is the network of people that you're going to spend the next 40, 50 years of your life with. So in my locker room at William Jewell College, Division II school, was the head coach at Oregon, the special teams coordinator at Illinois, the linebackers coach for the Giants, the head coach at Calvin, the defensive coordinator at Pittsburgh State. Why do I tell you all that? Because the head coach that I worked for took it seriously, the people he was putting in the locker room, right? Character matters. So at Calvin University, what we are absolutely committed to is putting the right people in our locker room. Okay, so whenever I got hired here, very clear. You guys probably know a little bit more about Calvin than I do, living in this area. Calvin's a really special place, right? And Calvin football is with Calvin University as one, right? And so what we're doing at Calvin is we are filling our locker room full of the best and the brightest high school players in Michigan. That's where we're starting, right? So we made a commitment. We're gonna fill our locker room with high school student athletes from Michigan. We're gonna expand to Chicago, to California, to Colorado, wherever we can, right? But we're committed to building this thing with the right people. So I say all that to say, as you're going through this process, it's really important that you get to know who your coach is, what institution you're going to, and what is your degree going to look like from there. Because I'll tell you this, the football is going to go flat for everybody at some point. For 99% of college football players, it goes flat the day of your last game, right? And you don't ever get to play the game again, which is okay. But it's important when you leave that you understand what type of degree you're getting. I was so happy to hear you say that. It was so important that he found the engineering degree that he wanted, right, in school there. And it's so important. So as you go through the process, it's so important that, one, you get to know your coaches. Who are the guys in the locker room, right? Who are the guys in the locker room? So I'm really happy to say, next fall, right, we're going to have a couple scrimmages on campus at Calvin. I want all you guys to come, and you're going to get to meet the somewhere between 50 and 60 players that we have on our campus for next fall, right? And it's going to be a great fall at Calvin. And in the class of 2024, 2025, 2026, those are going to be the guys that get to play the first games ever at Calvin University, which is really, really exciting to me. So I think my 3 minutes is up. I could talk about this all night long. I feel like this. So I've been in college coaching for 16 years, and I've seen every different phase of the recruiting process. And I feel like it's part of my job. Obviously, I work for Team Calvin. When I go somewhere public, I wear this hoodie because it's bright and it says Calvin, right? I work for Team Calvin. But it's my job as an ambassador of college football to teach people about the recruiting process, because the recruiting process can get really, really messy, right? And you can feel like you're having to read between the lines with people. That's why it's so important that when you're on a campus, you talk to the head coach, right? Talk to the players in the locker room. It's so important. If you go on a campus visit and you don't get to see players, which if you come to Calvin right now, today, you won't see players. In the fall, you will, right? See the players. Talk to the players. It doesn't matter if it's Division I, Division II, Division III. Football is football. Our field at Calvin will be 100 yards long, just like everybody else's. 53 1/3 yards wide, just like it is at Michigan, right? It's the exact same game. You find a place that's right for you, right? And maybe that's Michigan, maybe that's Calvin. I have no idea. I would love for it to be Calvin, right? Selfishly, because I'm really excited about it. But here's what I'll tell you. I want to be a resource for you guys. Last thing, I'll tell you one more quick story. I've been recruiting a young man in West Michigan. I can't tell you his name. And he has several different options of places he can go to college. And he came and he sat down in the office with his mom, and I said, so where have you been to visit? I've only been to a couple places. So where do you want to go visit? And he told me 3 other places. And I said, okay, go visit each of those places, right? Go visit. And not every coach will tell you that. It's your job to make sure that at the end of the day, when you make a decision, hopefully you only make a decision one time, right? Because there's this thing called the transfer portal, and it looks really cool on Twitter, and it's really messy, right? It's a really messy deal, and it's okay. It is okay if people are in the transfer portal. I'm not saying that. But you want to make a decision one time. So when you go, do your due diligence. And I'm confident, I'm confident in the product that we have at Calvin, that when you go look at other places, that's going to rise to the top. But you have to make that decision for yourself, because wherever you go play, with the day you walk in the locker room, your parents are going to drop you off, and then they're going to go back home, and you're going to be the one sitting there in the locker room with those coaches and with those players, right? So you need to make sure that it's the right thing for you, because you don't want to get 6-8 months into it and think, man, I wish I would have looked at this place, this place, this place. No, go look at those places now on the front end. And after you take a college visit, after you visit with a coach, sit down, literally, and make 3 columns. Things I liked, things I have questions about, things I didn't like. And if you go and visit 10 different places, you'll have 10 pieces of paper. And at the end of your college search process, one of those pieces of paper is going to rise to the top, right? So that's what I have for you tonight. Super excited about Calvin football. Anytime you want to come visit Calvin, come visit Calvin. You're welcome at our place anytime. I'm going to turn it over to Coach Dixon.
All right, so I'll get into some of the weeds of everything, right? Hey, he's good at public speaking, isn't he? Jeez, tough to follow.
You talk about something you love.
Tough to follow the 2 people I just did. So, what should you be looking for, right? I'm Coach Dixon. I'm the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach at Calvin. Really excited to be there. The first thing is quality of institution, right? You can get a degree anywhere. Like, to be honest with you, you can get a degree anywhere. Does that degree mean something, right? Calvin University, 99.3% of people get a job within 6 months, right? That's an impressive statistic. That's a statistic that you should ask every college that's recruiting you. Are you getting jobs, right? Are people looking to hire you, okay? Are donors very involved with the school who are looking for people to employ, right? Those are big questions that you should be asking, okay? Is excellence being achieved? When you're looking at college, how is the rest of the college doing? Take football out of it. Is the rest of the college achieving excellence, right? Is the basketball team in the top 10? Are they building nice facilities, right? Are they taking care of what they have, right? All those things are super important when you look around a university, okay? Are they taking care of what they have? Are they achieving excellence? Are they striving to achieve excellence, okay? And you can tell that by everything other than the football program, okay? Because true excellence is an institutional-wide program. Okay, size of the institution, right? I didn't put go to a big school. I didn't put go to a small school. Go to the school that's the right size for you, right? Like, I went to a school of about 1,000 people. I had another offer that was a school of about 600 people, right? Calvin has right around 3,000 people, right? So you have big school feel sometimes, but small school class sizes, 12-1 teacher ratio, right? And then look at the size of the football roster, and I want to emphasize this one a lot. Okay, because there are rosters in college football that can go to 180, right? 200. I interviewed at a school that carried 220 kids on their roster, right? Start to go through what that coach to player ratio is, right? At Calvin, we're going to carry around 110. Because I want to tell you, if he told me we're going to carry 200, I would not be standing here right now. Because I couldn't serve those kids effectively, okay? Environmental location, right? Faith-based institution, Calvin, right? You need to be open to that if you want to attend Calvin, right? Because that's going to be something that's part of the environment. Now, every walk of life, every stage of that faith is different,
right? And that's what's exciting about Calvin, is we can take you from point A to point B, and it's really exciting, okay? And then location, are there internships available, right? Are you able to get jobs, right? Because a lot of kids go to college and guess what? They kind of stay there, right? Because that's where your internships and connections go, okay? So you have to keep that in mind. People, are they genuine, right? Are you getting a transactional or transformational recruiting process, right? I know, tell me about it, okay? But what I want to get to is transactional. Are you getting that Twitter DM offer? Okay, when you hit that senior year, you'll get offers just in your Twitter DM saying, hey, do you want to come play for us? And you'll be like, I've never talked to this guy. Okay, that's a transactional recruiting process. Transformational or relational recruiting. Okay, get to know people. Okay, don't accept just a Twitter DM. Get to know the coaches you want to play for, right? Make it hard to get an offer. You want to get to know people, right? Because that's what's going to tell you the type of program they run, a transformational, transactional program. Okay? Then coaching background, get to know the background of the coaches, right? I have a wife, a daughter, attending Iroquois next year in pre-K, okay? And then a boy on the way, okay? So we're really excited about all this. But get to know your coach's background. Where have they been? What successes have they had? Have they had success? Is this their first year ever coaching? Right? All those things matter. Okay, now what do we look for? Okay? Talent. You have to be good enough, right? You have to be good enough to play college football. That is part of the business. Grades, man, that question about grades, I mean, at Calvin, we look for kids 3.0 plus, right? If you get a 3.8 at Calvin, you get a $21,000 scholarship off the jump in the last class, okay? So grades matter, because I know everyone's chasing the full ride, right? Everyone wants that full ride, full pay. Outside the FBS level, you're not really getting that. So your grades matter because they supplement your financial aid package. Okay, then character and intangibles. And then everyone's like, what does that mean, right? How can you tell a kid's character and intangibles? Mainly through relationship building, talking to the kid, and then recommendations. Recommendations of your high school coach. Communicate well with your high school coach. Okay, I talk to secretaries as I leave buildings. I let the kids and coaches leave, and then my last thing, secretaries, hey, is that kid ever in the office? What's he in the office for? And go about it that way, right? And you don't know that I do that, okay? And then attend camps, okay? My suggestion, attend a mega camp, attend a camp to get your name out there, and then pinpoint specific camps, because your body can only handle so much before you start to hurt your senior year of football, okay? So attend camps, attend one where exposure happens, and then attend some at places where you want to go so you can be coached by those coaches, right? And also tell coaches where you're going to camp. If you like Calvin University, we don't really have a field right now, so we're not hosting a camp this summer. But I want to know where you're camping so that I can go with you, right, and see you perform. Okay, that's important. Okay, send out your film, okay, utilize your coaches, communicate with them really well, and then communicate at a high level. I'm going to tell you that first text matters. Okay, that first communication from a college coach matters because it's within the first two communications that we build our database. If you don't answer within the first two, it's going to take you reaching back out to us. Okay, because we're just going to assume you're not interested. Okay? Some quick tips. Finish strong in the classroom. We talked about grades, so they're so important. Take every workout seriously because, again, talent matters. Strength matters. Health matters. Your best ability is your availability in college football. You can't play if you're hurt. Okay? Focus on your identity outside of athletics. The best college football players are the ones who know who they are outside of college football. Focus on your faith. Understand whose you are, not just who you are. Okay? Research schools. Okay? Dig deep. Dig deep into every school, every institution, every coach. Ask questions. Ask me, if I'm your recruiting coach, ask me a billion questions. I'm really good at finding answers, even if I don't know them. Then, if a coach doesn't get back to you with an answer, that tells you something, right? Log everything. Okay? Find ways to talk to players on the roster. Coach talked about that. I think that's one of the most important ones because then you see what we're truly like, right? How do we really treat our players? Okay? And then what does my financial package actually say? Okay? And this is one where a lot of coaches stray away from this topic. Okay? A lot of financial aid packages are kind of hidden packages. You won't see all the money on there, right? They try to confuse you into a commitment because they just throw a bunch of numbers on a piece of paper. Calvin's is really easy to read, and I'm really proud of that. Okay, I've been at other institutions to where I couldn't even read it. Okay, and they're trying to trick you into committing there, and you don't know what you're paying, and then you're ending up in the portal. okay? So that's important. Make that coach, make the financial aid office talk you through the package so that you know what you're getting into. Okay, and then here's my information. I will be the recruiting coach here, connected Grand Rapids Christian. Real excited about that. And if you need anything, there's my personal cell number. That's my email. I'm always open for questions, parents, student athletes, coaches, whomever. Very open and honest. But that's all I got. Are there any questions for us? I know I went a little long, Coach Sundberg. I'm sorry.
Questions? Are you okay if we send this out?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'll shoot this out to you guys in as well.
Coach, thanks so much. Coach, can you jump off the,
No.
that's what I yell at Coach Nebor every A day. I teach in his classroom, every third hour. All right, we doing okay? Okay, good. We still got some more information coming your way. Like I said, we will send out that slideshow via email. You okay if we send yours out too? So what we're about to do, we'll send this out in the video link as well. So, sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to mirror my display. There we go. All right, Coach. This clicker should work. So, my friend Bill, I already introduced him a little bit, but he actually flew in from Florida just to be here at Grand Rapids Christian for these 2 days. He is retired, congratulations, but spent 39 years in the good work of Christian education. He's actually spent today and he's spending all day tomorrow here at our school, meeting with different administrators, different coaches, just a lot of different people involved in athletics and the counseling world, just to share ideas and let us ask questions. And so it's pretty cool that he also agreed to come here and share with you guys. So, Coach, thanks so much. Appreciate you. Just click which one? The right one. We'll take you to the shit. There you go.
All right, well, thanks so much for having me. I'm going to put some stuff on here. I'm going to let you read, and as Kirk said, he's going to send this out, so if you want to take a picture of something, go ahead, but you're going to get all this information post this little presentation. But I did spend 39 years all in Christian education, several different states. Started off teaching and coaching. I was a 30-year basketball coach at the varsity level, coached pretty much everything, including football, that didn't conflict with basketball at one time or another. The last 9 years prior to, up till last May, I was at Valor Christian High School in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. Kirk and I spent 5 years or so together, working together at that school. Valor's a well-known school across the country. We produce a high volume of athletes and high volume of Division I athletes. So I worked with everything from football guys to fencers and equestrian and kind of a little bit of everything, things that we didn't even offer at our school. And so it was just really very, very rewarding for me, and we sent kids to a lot of different schools. Our football program was pretty successful. We won 7 state championships in the first 9 years of the school at the highest level in the state of Colorado. Probably our most famous graduate is Christian McCaffrey, who's a pretty good running back now with the San Francisco 49ers. Christian was part of my first class, so that was kind of a blessing to walk into working with an athlete of his level. But again, we had 67% of our football players during that time go to Division I, so hence a lot of our success. And these are the colleges that we sent players to, pretty wide range. Our kids, when I was doing some research here, about 75% of the students in Grand Rapids Christian stay in state. 67% of our students and our student athletes went out of state. Even though Colorado has some very, very good schools, our kids were going everywhere. And I sent like 46 out of the 50 states that we sent athletes to during the time I was there. So that was pretty good. We also had a great group of kids that went to Division II, Division III, and NAIA schools. and I probably had as much joy in helping them, probably spent more time with those athletes, finding the right fit for them than I even did with our Division I kids. And so a lot of great schools in there, a lot of Christian schools, a lot of schools that you may be interested in, just because if you like the experience here at Grand Rapids Christian and the culture of a school like this, you might like going to a Christian college similar to your school. The purpose, and I spoke a little bit earlier to some of the athletes, the whole purpose of this whole recruiting process is to get your education and get somebody else to pay for it. You're already paying for high school, and you probably pay for elementary, some of you, and what a blessing it would be to have someone else pay for college for your son. I mean, that would be the biggest blessing going. You need to go to a place where you can get a degree, so you can get a job and not go back and live in your parents' basement after you graduate. That's the goal, all right? You love your parents and they love you, but I have 5 children. I'm glad they're all gone and living in their own homes right now. So it's really, really good. The other thing is find a place where you can play. I always tell athletes to go to the highest level you can where you can play. Even in high school, sitting on the bench is not a whole lot of fun. It's 10 times harder at the college level because they pretty much own every moment of your time during the day, from very early in the morning to very late at night. And so find a place where you can actually play. I love what Calvin said, the culture trumps everything. So that culture is the coach, the head coach, and the coaching staff that you're entrusting your most valuable asset into, that are going to love on your son or daughter, if you have daughters that are going to play, that culture and the people that they're going to surround your son or daughter with, that is so important, and probably the most important thing. Find the right fit, size of the school, location, majors, style of play. If you're a quarterback and you love to throw the ball and you go to someplace where they run the wing tee or whatever they run. If you go to Air Force, that's probably not a place you want to play. So really study the style of play that they have. And the other thing is, would you continue to go to that school if something happened and you got injured? And that's a high possibility in any sport along the way. The process, everybody has spoken about grades. Become the best student you can be. GPA really matters. Meet and exceed the 16 core classes that are required. Become the best athlete you can be. Have high character. These are things that have been emphasized. So I'm just repeating what other very knowledgeable people have already said, and they are so right in everything that they said tonight. I agree with everything, Rhonda, that you said, and what the coach Calvin said. It's just so important. Be careful of your social media. Once it's on social media, it is there forever. Don't think it goes away just because you delete it. Just use it to promote yourself, and it's your own PR tool. But I tell kids, don't even favorite or like or retweet or anything that can be controversial these days. It's just better to just let other people do that, and you use your social media to promote yourself through your videos and other things like that. Cast your net really wide. We always tell athletes, we don't know where you're going to fall. I've never told an athlete that they're a D1 player, because then if they're not, they think I'm a fool. And then also, I've never told an athlete they are not a D1 player or never will be, because then they would never want to come back and see me again. So we let it play out. We just recommend that you look at all levels, because there's D1 players at every single level. Really and truly. There's D1 athletes at the NAI level. There's going to be D1 caliber athletes at the D3 level and at the D2 level. And for whatever reason, people fell into that, and a lot of it was beyond the athlete's own control. So look at all levels. Be willing to go anywhere. A lot of people like staying close to home. Great, stay close to home. But if somebody's going to pay your education, it's a 36-month deal, and that's it. And then you can come home. It's 8 or 9 months a year for 4 years, and then you can come home and live after that if you want to do that. But be willing to go anywhere. Be super proactive. You need to own this process. You need to be doing your own emails. You need to be doing your own DMing with coaches. Mom and dad, let your son do this themselves. It's not your scholarship you're chasing. It's theirs. They're the ones that are going to get up at 6 a.m. and lift weights and run stadium steps and go to mandatory study halls. So this is on you guys to do this yourself. have really quality varsity video. It's kind of tough sometimes to, like, when does recruiting start? And it starts differently in every sport, but really and truly to have varsity video, Friday Night Lights, to have a Saturday morning in the sunlight video is probably not as effective. It can be, but it's not as effective as a Friday Night Lights video. So visit as many colleges as possible. You have so many colleges in the state of Michigan, and you can start that even in your freshman year. Your coaches, I've talked to your coaches today about how to navigate going to spring practices or spring football games and summer camps, and start going now and getting familiar with that place. A lot of times just getting a feel on campus. If you're going on a road trip with your parents somewhere and there's a college that you're passing by, just drive through the campus and get a feel for that place. So, and go to as many schools as you possibly can. Finding the right fit is always a thing. And again, I already said this, go to the highest level where you can play. 5 steps in the recruiting process. There's usually initial letters and recruiting questionnaires that get you into the system with them, and you'll get emails and things when they're doing camps. They'll do some preliminary evaluations with your film, your highlight film, and then some game film. They'll talk to your coaches, your strength coach, other things like that, so be aware that they're going to be doing that. You'll start to take visits, calls, and then you'll be doing in-person evaluation in the spring and other things if you have spring football or at camps, and they'll be evaluating in person. They want to see how you move. I coach so many kids who, when I was a basketball coach, who also played football or baseball, and I can't tell you how many of those college coaches came and watched my basketball players who were in other sports, just because basketball's a different sport and they wanted to see how they moved. So playing multiple sports is always a good thing. They can extend verbal offers, make sure you know what that is. They talked about like a little bait and switch a little bit with the Calvin guys. Make sure you know what the offer is. Is it a walk-on or a preferred walk-on, or is it an actual scholarship? And then how much money it is. So there's a lot of variables in that. And then obviously the last thing is signing the piece of paper on a signing day. And that's always one of the best deals. What's the parents' role? So parents, this is a slide for you. There's a thing, and it says 2021, but every year the NCAA comes out for the NCAA guide for the college-bound student athlete. It's about a 24-page deal. These coaches, I've already told them they should send this out. They're going to send that out to you at some point. It will explain every single rule, and as the rules continue to change with the transfer portal and visits and all those things, it tries to stay very up to date. Research schools, more than just the football program, their majors and size of the school and other things. Probably the hardest part of my job is being realistic about the level you can play. I don't know if I've had just a handful of kids who've ever come into my office, and I've signed almost 500 athletes along the way, that hasn't wanted to play Division I. And to be real honest, I want you to play Division I too, because that makes me look really good too, you know, if I get you to sign. But at the end of the day, I want you to get your education, and I want you to go to college for free. Free university is my favorite university, and debt-free is my second favorite. So whatever that means to you, let's go there. You should be teaching your son about humility, that academics matter, that character matters, that effort matters. You're the assistant coach. You're like when they got their driver's permit, and they were in the driver's seat, and you're in the front seat and passenger. That's who you are in the recruiting process, okay? You don't go over and grab the wheel. Let them do it themselves. Athletes, you're your own PR firm, is what you are. So your social media and how you carry yourself and how you act and how you look a coach in the eye and how firmly you shake their hand, you are your own PR person. So you need to be that guy all the time. Don't write emails or call coaches or text. They just, unless they call you, that's cool. But I had a mom, she wrote 90 emails for her son, and it didn't work out very well for them. So I'm just telling you from experience. I've had parents who've taken over my son's so busy, they do so much, and they don't really, the parent wants to be recruited way more than the athlete at that point. So just let your son take care of all that stuff. And this is about your child's dream. The child's dream has to be bigger than the parent's dream of their kid playing college football or college anything. And so make sure that this is your child's dream. Oh, we put this one got it. So it's GPA matter. So this just comes from my counseling department. If you have a 4.0, you can get into 94% of the colleges in the United States. There's about 1,900 colleges in the United States. They don't all play football, but there's 1,900 colleges. Even with a 4.0, you can't get into every school in America. So there you go. 3.5, you can get into 72%. 3.0, you can get into half the colleges in America. So if there's like a tipping point in here and you want to stay above the, I can get into half the schools in the country, have at least that 3.0. And so it kind of goes down from there, and you can read that. So grades really do matter, and we'll go about that a little bit more. This is something that I always throw into every presentation I do, because most kids that come see me, I want to go to a big school, coach. And I said, well, what does that mean to you? Like 40 or 50,000? I said, oh my gosh, that's a whole city, you know, and there are schools that are like a whole city. And so actually only 3% of all the schools in America have more than 20,000 students. So there are not that many really big schools. They're just all on TV on Saturday. That's the deal. You know, like Wake Forest, who has a very good football team, has a little less than 4,000 students. They're about the same size as Calvin. So there are a lot of D1 schools that are very, very small. 11% of colleges have 10,000 or more, 21% at 5,000, 42% have 25 students or more, and 58% of all colleges, almost 60%, 6 out of 10 schools in America have 2,500 students or less. There's a reason for that. There's a reason you're at, you know, like 800 students. You know your faculty, you know your coaches, you know the ladies who serve you in the lunchroom, you even may know the facility staff. There's some great advantages of that. And so going to a small school, even though you go to a small school here, think about the things that are so advantageous for you and the opportunities that you have at a school like this, and how you can also have that at the college level. What coaches are looking for. And so I took a survey of about 100 college coaches at all levels, and this is what they sent me, so I'm just going to share this for you. They have a profile at every level for what they're looking for. And if you're 6'3", and they're looking for 6'4", they won't recruit you. That's just the way life is. Sorry. Stretch, grow, whatever. You may grow into that, but at the point of recruiting, that's just the way it is. So height, weight, speed, vertical, wingspan, arm length is a huge deal that they test and work on all the time. When you put together a varsity film highlights, you really only need to have 10 to 15 plays. They can always ask for more, and you can give them more, or they could ask for, they'll usually ask for some kind of whole game film, because they'll want to see if you take plays off, if you're playing right tackle and they run a sweep to the left, do you still block and play when the play's away from you, or vice versa if you're on defense. So they will look at a whole film to do that. You need to stand out, you need to be dynamic, explosive. If you're a skilled position player, twitchy is probably the word I hear mostly from college coaches. I am not very twitchy, especially at my age, and I wasn't when I was 18 either, so that probably prevented me from going where I really wanted to go. You need to create separation from other players. You need to do things that catch coaches' eyes. Linemen, I'll tell you the biggest thing in linemen is how you bend at the hips. That is probably the number one thing. So if you're not very flexible in the hips, that is the thing you need to look for. And if your butt sticks up, that is not a good thing, right? Coach, lineman, got to bend, right? So let's do that. Shoulders up, straight back, no arch. They look at footwork, they look at handwork, they look at all those kind of things. So game films, again, they'll look at everything. I can make every kid, I was a basketball coach, I could do a highlight film of a guy making 33s, and that's all he made the whole year, and he took 180 of them. So I can make anybody look good on film. So they will ask for other things. They'll see how you finished, you play hard on every play. They will ask these people, like Coach McKell and Coach Dixon just said, he'll ask the secretary. Well, I've had coaches not only ask your high school coach, they'll talk to the strength coach. They'll go down to the trainer and see if you're a guy that's in the training room with owies every day and can't practice. They'll talk to your high school counselor and see what kind of person you are. They'll even walk the halls and say, who's your science teacher? And go talk to those people along the way. I had a kid when I was coaching, and he was a basketball kid, and he was going to be a lottery pick in the NBA draft. and I coached him his freshman, sophomore, and junior year, and then he went to a prep school. But the NBA team actually called me to ask how he was when he played for me, and this was 4 or 5 years after I coached him. So the NBA or NFL, they do their research all the way down, and they're investing a lot of money in you, and so they're going to do background checks and check on you. Just so you get a lay of the land of what the different levels are. FBS Division I, these are your guys on TV, your Power 5 conference type schools. There's 129 teams. There's 85 scholarships at that level. They're all full rides. There's no other, they're not broken up. They're all, this is the golden ticket. This is the most fun. If you get one of these, it's fantastic. At the FCS level, Division I, they have 63 scholarships. A good majority of those are full rides, but not all of them are. If they gave 63, they wouldn't have enough depth on their roster to get 80 or 90 or 100 kids in their roster, so they will break up some of those scholarships. Again, it's very important to have good grades. Yes?
Is that 63 scholarships per class or for the entire?
For the whole program. Yeah. Yeah.
So like a typical FBS Division I school will only hold 85?
That's it, 85. They will have, a lot of teams will have 105 on their roster, which is about 20 walk-ons, preferred walk-ons. And then they'll also have there's a difference between a preferred walk-on and a walk-on. And a walk-on is a guy where they will have a tryout in August once school starts. So you're not there on August 1st with everybody else. And they'll have a tryout, and depending on the team, it's 10 to 15 maybe guys that they will keep on a walk-on deal. You may dress at home games, but you're not going on the road. Same with preferred walk-ons. You're not dressing somewhere else. Your mom dad can watch you on the sidelines at home games, but that's about it. So 85 is the deal. Division II, there's 170 teams. They give 36 scholarships, and because of depth, those are going to be like 72 full tuition scholarships. That's what those are going to be. And then they're going to give guys scholarships, pieces of scholarships, or academic scholarships. You can get a full ride. If you're a stud kid, a Division II school can use an entire full ride on you and give you everything athletic. But if you have grades and they can combine those two things and make it into a full ride, that's better for them, because then they can sign more players at that level. Division III, there's 250 teams. I guess there's going to be 251 now, which is awesome. Division III schools, their athletic scholarships is all their academics. Like Coach said, if you have a 3.8 GPA at Calvin, you get $21,000, thank you. $21,000 right off the bat. And there's a lot of other merit and need-based scholarships at Division III levels. And there are kids that I've signed at the Division III level that actually get better deals than my kids at Division I, especially in sports like baseball or soccer, where they're usually not full rides and kids are just getting $5,000 here or $7,000 there. So there's a lot of kids at the Division III level that are getting great scholarship money. A lot of people don't think about it that way because they think about no athletic scholarships. This is their way of doing athletic scholarships. So NAI, you do have some NAI schools in this area. There's 95 teams, there's 24 scholarships at that level, so each level gets a little less. And again, these are the schools. One of the questions you'll want to ask if you go to a D2 or NAI level is if they're fully funded. There's a conference out in Colorado in that Rocky Mountain region called the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. Some very good teams there. They're Division II, and about half the teams in that conference are fully funded, and they give the maximum number of scholarships. The lower half of that conference, the guys that are usually under 500, are not fully funded, and they're giving much less than the full deal. And so that's a question, if you're going to look at that level in any sport, ask if they're fully funded. So this is the maximum, but not everybody gives that. Factors affecting recruiting. Wow. Super seniors, thankfully, is almost done, but there are still kids 23 and 24 years old that are Stetson Bennett. I mean, he's still playing, yes.
And also with COVID, it added another year to a lot of folks.
Yep, this is it right here. That's the super senior. These are all the kids who were on a roster during the COVID year, and they all get an extra year eligibility. I don't even know why anybody would want to do that now. I think but there are kids that, man, they just love playing in college, and they're just going to keep riding this out to the end. So, man, you can get your master's degree. Some of the guys have been there for 6 years, and you get your whole undergrad and master's, and maybe work on something else even. So, super seniors is not quite done yet, so it's affecting rosters. Name, image, and likeness, and the money that people are getting are amazing. I talked to some of our athletes that we had at Valor and some of the deals that they're getting, but you can look up a lot of things. Bryce Young, the quarterback from Alabama this year, made $3.2 million as a college athlete. He's in the rare deal. C.J. Stroud was in about $2.5 million at Ohio State. Bijan Robinson and Quinn Ewers, I was telling Coach Sundberg today, their deals are in the $2 million plus, but they also got really nice black Lamborghinis with burnt orange leather interior. So that was a good deal for them. And if you're Quinn Ewers, everybody knows that's your car, and so when you park illegally on game day and it gets towed, it makes national news. So I'm not sure name, image, and likeness. I love everything about it. I'm glad that people are getting some benefit out of it, but I don't know if they'll ever be able to rein it in, to be real honest. But the biggest thing that affects recruiting is the transfer portal. Last year, the University of Nebraska football team signed 32 kids, and they signed 8 high school kids and 24 transfers. Scott Frost was trying to save his job and needed a quick fix. Arizona State University with Herm Edwards, who also got fired, they did the same thing, and they were 25-7. So they signed 7 high school kids and 25 transfer kids, and again, it didn't work out very well for him. It's hard to build a culture when you're constantly turning your program over, but if you need a quick fix, you see a lot of names. There's 2 windows now, one in January, one right now in April with the transfer portal. About 1,400 football players went into the portal in January, and they're expecting another 1,200 to 1,400 going in there now. And it's just going to create less and less opportunities for high school guys. Just the way, and it's going to continue to be this way because there's no going back on the transfer portal anymore. I could talk about the portal for a long time, but it's a mess. It's great, but it's not great. Here's your odds of playing football in college. Out of every 100 high school players, 7.3 go to college at any level, 2.9% go Division I. You can read the rest, and then 0.8% of all high school players will play in the NFL. So 8 out of every 10,000 players. So when Coach said the ball goes flat for 99% of the players, it's like 99 point whatever percentage you want to put on that. The ball goes flat when you end. So again, it's all about getting your education and getting someone else to pay for it. That's always a good thing. These are things that you can find. You can Google these things and get them, but NCAA Quick Reference Guide, schools like Grand Rapids Christian, probably most of you, I would say, are going to meet and exceed the number of core classes. You have an academic counselor that is keeping track of a lot of that for you. I would say take as many core classes as you can, exceed the 16. I always think that's better because it'll take your top 16 classes, and because the test doesn't really matter with NCAA eligibility at this point, and maybe forever, ever more, GPA and getting your core classes is going to be very, very important for you. These are just recruiting terms, and I'll let you look at that, but contact period is when everybody can talk. Dead periods are when they really can't talk, and every sport is different, and you can look this up and find out the exact dates, and they fluctuate a little bit, but you can look at evaluation periods where coaches can again watch and talk to you, unless you're on their campus. Then quiet periods where you can have face-to-face on college campus, but they can't watch in person. There's a lot of different rules. They can be really complicated. Official visits, 5 official visits. I read right now where they're going to extend it and make even, the kids can take more than 5 official visits. So that's an NCAA rule that may be going into effect, I think, very soon this summer. I was just reading about that. They're 48 hours. They're awesome. Like, I always take them all. They're a lot of fun. You had fun on official visits, right? They're good, they're great. You really get to know the coaches, and usually there's other athletes and other parents there too that are looking at the same school, so you can collaborate on that. Unofficial visits, I think these are even more important. You can start these, I usually say like in your sophomore and junior year is a really important, some sophomore, and then in your junior year. And I would say you have so many schools around here where you can go on campus, you can go to a game, you can get a tour, you can talk to a coach, you can do some things. And you can drive to all these places. You don't have to fly to California to go on an unofficial visit, unless you're going to California to go to Disneyland or something. There's plenty of schools here that you can do that. I also say on official visits and other things, a lot of athletes that I've worked with, you know, since we signed so many Division I athletes, they were not very interested in talking to coaches at other levels. And I always would tell them this story that if my dream school was, we'll go Michigan because we're in Michigan, and I wanted to play for Jim Harbaugh, I would not want my first phone call or meeting, handshake, hand-to-hand, or face-to-face with Jim Harbaugh would be the first experience I ever had doing coach. I'd want a little practice first with somebody else so I could stumble over myself, because at 60-something years old, I would be really nervous. I've actually met Jim Harbaugh a couple of times. He's a really different dude. That's all I can say. Very quirky, but somewhat intimidating. When I met hundreds and hundreds of Division I coaches, it's sometimes intimidating to sit there with Lincoln Riley and ask him about his offense and how he runs it. But I had experience talking to hundreds of other coaches before I got to him, and so as a young athlete, it's really good to talk to a Davenport coach or a Ferris State coach or a Hope College coach before you get in front of that dream coach in the dream school that you really, really want to go to. And those schools that I just mentioned, they could be your dream school too. Preferred walk-ons are different than regular walk-ons, and so you need to know the difference on that. NCAA Eligibility Center. We always suggest our athletes to actually register and pay. I can't tell you how many athletes registered, got a number and thought everything was cool, but didn't pay the little $95 at the end and didn't get their number. And all of a sudden, we're getting ready for eligibility or official visits, and the college coach will call and say, Johnny can't come on his visit until he registers for the NCAA. And I call Johnny's mom, and Johnny's mom goes, "Oh, we did that." And I look it up, and I say, "Well, yeah, you filled everything out, but you didn't pay the fee at the end. So please pay the fee so we can send your kid on an official visit." So we suggest really by the end of your sophomore year, if you're serious and you want to play Division I or Division II, to go ahead and sign up for that. If you're going to an NAIA school, it would be more like as you're getting into that process and looking at NAIA schools, then you can register for that. Division III, you don't have to sign up for anything at all. You don't have to do either one. So just D1, D2, and NAIA. Everybody always asks me about recruiting services. There's a lot of opinion. I'm just going to give you mine. I don't believe in them. I've never met a college coach who's ever used a recruiting service to recruit a kid, especially at the Division I level. And I've signed a lot of kids and talked to hundreds and hundreds of coaches. We, at Valor, we did register with a recruiting technology platform company and called Sports Recruits, and it's very successful. We have it for all 25 of our sports at the school that I worked at in Colorado. It actually is a deal that you do yourself, and there's some great feedback, and I've talked to your coaches about that. It might be something that we might be able to help you guys here at Grand Rapids Christian do. The deal is the technology platform that we did in 2021, which is right after COVID, where nobody could be seen, right? I mean, it was hard. Everybody's coming out of COVID, and we had all these kids in a panic because they couldn't go to anything over the summer. Our kids at Valor sent out over 12,000 emails that year to college coaches, and they got 10,000 profile views and 8,000 video views. And we signed 77 kids that year. They were so proactive. They were on it because they knew they had nothing else to be able to show coaches. We had kids like in the backyard juggling, crazy stuff, juggling a soccer ball and doing their bio as their intro to their video because we had no game highlights because nobody was playing games. They didn't have any club video because club teams couldn't go out. We had little kids with lacrosse balls, thrown against the wall and talking to coaches and introducing themselves. Kids were so creative. We had a kid who, literally one of our linemen, was pushing a car, Suburban, down the road, showing coaches how cool he was doing that. And you just use that as a 15 or 20-second clip. The great thing about Sports Crews, I'll just say, is that it gives you immediate feedback, and it's a platform where the student athlete is on, the parents are on, and your high school coach is on. And as you send out emails and say you want to send something to Ferris State, and we're in Ferris State, so I'm going to keep pumping Ferris State because that's a good school. If I want to go to contact the Ferris State football coaches, and you click on that, the emails of every Ferris State football coach comes up automatically without you having to look them up. And that is a huge advantage. And then as you send your email and hit send, there's a link for your profile and your huddle video. And when a coach opens up your profile and video, the parent, the athlete, and the coaches all get a text message and an email letting you know exactly which coach from which school looks at your stuff. So it's a great little platform. And when I work with athletes individually, I don't make any money off this. I'm just telling you, like, I don't get a cut. I'm not trying to promote anything for Bill Bufton. This is not the deal. But we use it, and when I work with athletes, they use this and they get a discount because then I can track what they're doing. So I can see how many emails they're sending out. I can see the coaches that are looking at them. So it works really well. Try to go as quick as I could. That's my email and Twitter and all of that kind of stuff. I always say this, if you have questions beyond this, I'm here for 2 days. As Kirk said, I'm retired. I'm living in Naples, Florida. It's pretty close to paradise for me. It's 88 every day, and I get to play a lot of golf. But in between times, in this last year, because God's really blessed me in 39 years of Christian education, and I've done a lot of things along the way as being a coach and an AD and a recruiting coordinator. For me to just sit back and play golf every day, I feel it's still wasting a lot of the gifts that God's given me. So I've partnered with, some schools like Grand Rapids Christian and gone in and talked to their coaches and ADs and academic people and counselors. And how can you guys continue to help? At the end of the day, it's all about you athletes and and the families that are here and servicing you very well and taking care of the needs. And so we're doing that, and I'm doing that, and I work individually with athletes around the country. But I get to do it on my own time a little bit, and I love it, and I'm very passionate about the recruiting piece. So if you, like, beyond this, and it's only 1:45, so we have time for a few questions, but if beyond this you have a question, feel free to email me, and I will answer you. Like, I will answer your question if it didn't get answered here tonight. So if there's questions, I'll be glad to. We'll do it football specific. So there you go.
What you guys got?
Yeah.
So say you have to reach out to a college coach for the first time, what would the preferred avenue be? Twitter,
All.
Just reach out to all?
Email, Twitter, follow coaches on Twitter, direct message them, do it via email. Head coaches aren't going to really read emails. What we always train our athletes to do is, you're a defensive end. Okay, defensive end. That you're going to reach out. You are going to reach out to the head coach, even though he's never going to read email because he has other people doing that for him. And you're going to send it to the defensive coordinator, and you're going to send it to the defensive line coach, and you're going to send it to the recruiting coordinator, the high school liaisons. That's the path. If you're a quarterback, you're going to send it to the head coach and the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach and the recruiting coordinator. So that's how those are the people that you want to
So
send.
recruiting coordinator at that school.
Yeah. Usually everybody has someone, recruiting coordinator at the school. And know that if you send it to Alabama, if you have to send your film to Alabama, then you can't play at Alabama. Alabama already knows about you. They have 27 high school film analyst guys who vet every They pay him $30,000 a year, and all these guys just do all day long, 27 of them in a basement at the Alabama football complex, is vet high school film. And about 98 or 99% of those films never make it out of the basement, because Alabama already knows who they're going to recruit. Just the way it is. There you go. Other questions? No, it's been a long night. Was this thorough enough for you? Good info, some things you've never heard before or seen before? Again, this will be on video. Kirk will send this slide out. My info's on there because I love this man right here, and because I'm loving my time here at your school, I'm available to you. That's just, I'm free basically right now if you have questions. So use me as a resource along the way. I'm going to continue to partner with your coaches here and continue to try to help them if I can. And if I can be a help to you guys, then that would be awesome. So thanks so much for letting me come up here. And you guys have a great place. Like really and truly, it's great. I'm sure you wouldn't be here unless you really truly loved it. You wouldn't send multiple kids, or some of you might be I know you're 100 years, right? You wouldn't be some people are generational, like second and third. Well, there's a reason for that, because it's a great place. So I'm a big believer in Christian education, and I love more than anything that the things that you guys will remember most, unfortunately, isn't going to be what was done in the chemistry lab. It's going to be somewhere out there on that turf, and what these guys, these men right here, invested their lives and their wisdom into you. So hang on to all of that stuff. It's awesome, and it'll be the best time of your whole life. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I hope you guys too are encouraged by the support of our school. I've known Bill for a few years, and I felt like just professionally I wanted to grow in the area of helping students and families navigate this process, and so Bill was like my top resource. And so instead of just like, hey, Bill, can we like talk on the phone on our own, I went to our administration. I was like, hey, can we like fly in here and have him talk to other people? And pretty cool. Our school was like, yeah, let's do it. So like paid his plane ticket, and there's people around the building that are leaning in and meeting with Bill and investing in the process. So to me that was encouraging, an encouraging sign from our school, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn and grow, and hopefully we can continue as a coaching staff to serve you guys better, and learn and grow, and go through the process. It's really exciting, and it's an honor that we don't take lightly. So I want to just quickly maybe you guys have met Julie or know who she is, but I just quickly, Coach Julie Watson in the back here. You may have heard from her or worked with her at different times in the past. She was brought on about a year ago to work with us as an assistant coach, and her role, rather than like football focuses, is all academic focused. So she actually helps navigate when Coach Bufton was talking about the core course requirements and the GPA requirements and all those things. She like does an audit of every kid in the program, evaluates where your core GPA is at, has a plan for who has what credits and all those kind of things. And we actually met with all of the juniors back in February, I think, and then the sophomores and the freshmen about a month after that. In this room, we just locked them all into a focus time and talked through that process and gave them their evaluation sheet and all that kind of stuff. So she's a great resource if you have questions about NCAA eligibility, if you're nervous or excited, either one of those ends of the spectrum, to make sure that we navigate that process appropriately. And then also just NCAA stuff aside, just general academic support as well, connecting students with tutors. She has gone to the lengths of like even employing her own daughter as a peer tutor to like help our guys with their homework assignments, and just her commitment and just support of our guys has been really cool. So she's a great resource academically to make sure guys stay eligible and support and all those kind of things. So Julie, thanks for your work, and if you guys want to connect with her on the way out, or just make sure that you know who she's, a great resource, and just Julie, thanks so much for your hard work. It's really awesome. Let's clap for Julie. I'll tell you, me and Coach Root meet with her every Thursday afternoon, in season especially, and she has the unenviable job of like opening up the grade report and telling us like where guys are at, which, you know, sometimes as a coach we could kind of, you know, you'd think we'd walk in like, all right, Julie, what do you got today? But she's so darn nice and helpful that it's actually like a really enjoyable time to hang out with her on Thursday afternoon. So, moving forward, if you're a junior, we want to connect with you, kind of as a family. You know, us as coaches, you guys as a family, and just talk about what's the plan. I know with the Ann and Zay, we've already got that set up, and just talk about summer camps, what schools are on your radar, what have you done in terms of emails and communication already, who can we reach out on your behalf, and just kind of set up that plan. So we'll be sending a follow-up email with the slideshows, with the links, all that kind of stuff. And in there, maybe we'll try to do some type of a sign up genius or sign up somehow, some techie way to facilitate getting meetings signed up so that we can connect with you guys. Once we get the juniors done, we'll then push that opportunity out to the next grades as well. I want to make sure that there are some current sophomores who will have opportunities and have goals, and realistically, in our program at least, will have the opportunity to play. I want to make sure that we can connect with you guys before the summertime as well. So that's kind of next steps. If, as a family, be thinking about camps, visits, things that you might want to be doing this summer. We definitely want to get going on that stuff. So
real quick, Coach, there's a link that the boys have in their huddle. It's a streamlined Google Doc that has all the camps, which state they're in, the prices, the dates, and the links to sign up for the camps on there. So if you're on vacation in July, there's no reason if you're in Tennessee, you can't stop at Tennessee camp on the weekend on the way home, right? So, and it's really inexpensive. So make sure they get that information before you set up your meeting, so that way you have an idea of which camps you want to sign up for. I know Michigan has at least 2 or 3 of them. They're like 25 to $50. So make sure you look for that.
cool. So we'll hang out. It's been a long evening. Really appreciate your guys' attention and being here. We'll cut you loose. We'll hang around for a few minutes. If you guys have specific questions, we'd love to catch up with you. But thanks so much for being here. Go Eagles.
Thank you.